take it to Tom. You being Kikuyu, I don't know how that's in English. I want to know what's cultivated that motivation for you to be like, I don't want to be an employee in the United States, and I want to go and push for this business.
You have to give whatever business that you're starting at least 5 years. So in my opinion, the magic number is 5. So I think 3 is too soon. And
I think they say 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
So I don't think you see much of like moving the needle in those first 3 years. I always like to think of the first 3 years as this is you're building. And you're not going to see like the outcome. You're not going to see the results at that point because you're still building whatever you're still building. And a lot of us, unfortunately, quit within that period time frame.
It's a lot of things you can get away with this than working for somebody, for sure. Because whoever you're working for, they're getting away with a lot than you as a worker getting away with anything.
That is true.
Yeah. I've heard somebody else say, don't ever quit your first job until your first business makes you whatever you're making in a whole year period.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So is that the same cases for you?
Yeah. That was the biggest mistake. And I think my mom has said that to me. You cannot quit your day job until your business replaces your income.
All right, guys, welcome back again. This is another episode, and today I'm going to be talking about business. As an immigrant to the United States, the success, the challenges, and what somebody needs to do, whoever wants to start, they need to do, or what they need to face. And let's hear it from somebody who's done it before. And for starters, we'll know what to do. With no much ado, I'm your host, Bryke.
And I'm Rahab.
And that's Rahab. So I know we've done a lot of episodes about being an immigrant, the challenges and everything, the language barriers and all that.
Yeah.
Today, I want you to touch on the businesses as a success story in the United States.
Sure.
And as somebody else who wants to start in the United States, they can pick on whatever you did and what they need to do themselves.
Yeah.
Yep. So what motivated you to start a business in the United States as an immigrant?
So the one incentive I think made me want to start my own business is the joy of having the freedom to, first of all, the freedom of time and the freedom of place. I've learned that when you're working for somebody else, that's not a luxury that you have. You have very constrained time frames because you have to be at work at certain times, and then also you have to be at if it's a job that you have to go to a specific location, then you have to be at that location. Depending on what you start as an entrepreneur, you get the luxury of time and place. You get to make your own hours, and also you decide you want to work from home or do you want to go to the location. So that's the one thing that really motivated me, is that freedom.
And I think that's one challenge that most people face. I think everybody else, they don't want this constriction of having to wake up too early and going back home too late.
Yeah.
Considering people have families and everything, making your own hours is something that most people want to fight for.
That is true.
And as somebody who's started a business, I think that's doing really good for you. And I'm glad it's going your way the way you want it to.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It hasn't been easy, but thank you.
Yeah. So what challenges did you face when you first started the business, and how did you overcome them?
So biggest challenge I can say is cash flow. And I want to talk about a little bit about cash flow. And I think the one thing that I was so accustomed to working as an employee is there's that guarantee paycheck whether that's 2 weeks, every month, whatever the frequency they're paying you at, you're guaranteed that. And the one thing that they don't talk about as an entrepreneur is one day it's a big payday and the next is no pay. So that was a challenge for me beginning because I was not accustomed. I was accustomed to a regular paycheck. I was accustomed to cash flow. And when you start your own business, there are moments, and at the beginning of the journey, there's a lot of no pay. And that can be really hard, especially if you're not prepared. So I think that was the biggest challenge. And the one way that I did overcome is, unfortunately, for me as a business owner, I had to continue working at my regular job. So I can say I had 2 jobs at the moment, but I knew what my goal is. So it can be hard at the beginning, but I always tell people don't give up at the beginning. Towards the end, it gets easier. It's just that starting point that was high. So biggest challenge was cash flow for sure.
And I know I've had somebody else say, don't ever quit your first job until your first business makes you whatever you're making in a whole year period.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So is that the same cases for you?
Yeah. That was the biggest mistake. And I think my mom has said that to me. You cannot quit your day job until your business replaces your income. Now, and some people are lucky, you know, they start the business and it takes off. But for most entrepreneurs that I've encountered, that is usually the trajectory. The first, maybe I'll say year, 2 years, 3 years, it's not consistent earning. But if you stick long enough with it, it will replace your income. And then
you speaking about the years, is it true that if you don't stay consistent with the challenges and everything, within 3 years, if you don't get persistent with it, if you don't, how would I put it? The right word that I'm looking for the right word, but I don't have it. I think somebody said, I've heard in the business talk, in 3 years, if you give up in the period of 3 years, then you're not really good for business. Is that true? Or
so I always give my rule of thumb, which to some extent it's true. So my mom is, and she's still a businesswoman. The one thing she tells me, or she's told me in the past, is, or any entrepreneur that I've met, you have to give whatever business that you're starting at least 5 years. So in my opinion, the magic number is 5. So I think 3 is too soon. And
I think they say 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
So I don't think you see much of like moving the needle in those first 3 years. I always like to think of the first 3 years as this is you're building. And you're not going to see like the outcome. You're not going to see the results at that point because you're still building whatever you're still building. And a lot of us, unfortunately, quit within that period time frame. I feel like that 5-year mark is when you start seeing trajectory from maybe if you're pouring money back into your business. Now maybe the profits are coming in and you're able to not just always pour in. But the first 5 years, in my opinion, I think is a building season. And yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you adjust to the business culture in the United States compared as back home, and compared to back home anyway?
So, biggest thing with business here, one of a cultural difference that I noticed is, I would say, the legal aspect of it. I think here there's more, you have to either get a permit for your job, you have to either get certification. And I think in the past we've touched on how easy it is in our country. Like the legality of it here is more
constrained, or
not constrained, but it's like you have to do these things for you to have a business that's running and within the appropriate legalities, because you don't want to run a business and then end up getting sued for whatever reason. So you have to make sure that your business has the appropriate certification. If it's a permit that you need to operate your business, you have to get that, even for tax reasons. So I think that's the one difference that I found. And at the beginning, it was challenging because if you don't have people that you can go to and ask for either direction, advice of how do you get through this, then it can be challenging. But that's a major difference that I noticed when it comes to business here. I think back at home, we're a little bit more lax, but I'm not sure about today. Maybe the laws have changed. I'm not sure.
I mean, yeah, I've had a lot of business talks back home, and a lot of legalities that I've heard. I've never had them the time that I was back home. But right now, they're kind of different. I think you gotta go through different channels before you make your business legal, or and as a matter of fact, nowadays they are more how would I put the word
strict.
I'm liking. Yeah, they're more strict. They're more strict on taxes.
Yeah.
They're more strict on taxes.
That
I think 5 years ago,
Mhm.
the taxes was not that strict. It was not that strict anyway.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't like using the word get away with.
Mhm.
I think you can get away with.
With business, it's not even them saying you can't get away with. It's a lot of things you can get away with business than working for somebody for sure. Because whoever you're working for, they're getting away with a lot than you as a worker are getting away with anything.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
What role did your African heritage play in shaping your business values and leadership style?
Oh, that's a good one. Resilience, persistence. I think my African heritage has taught me persistence. And I think that's a big one because as Africans, we're people who persevere. Not only that, we're very hardworking individuals. So I think those are traits that have contributed to my success. Like when we put our mind to something, we go get it. And that does come in handy, especially when you're because being an entrepreneur, business person is not easy. You have to have tough skin. And that's the one thing I think my heritage has given me, which is such an amazing trait to have, especially in the business world, because you have to have tough skin.
Okay.
It's not easy. Yeah. But if you stick around and persevere and you're resilient and you put in the hard work, you're guaranteed to succeed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. Were there any cultural differences that impacted the way you approached business in the United States? Considering United States have different cultural values, unlike Africa.
For sure. I can't think of anything specific, but there's definitely a different culture here. And one thing I think I'm learning even today, there's so much to learn as far as in the business world. And culturally, what can I say was different?
No, take it to time. You being Kikuyu, I don't know how that's in English. You being Kikuyu, how's that molded you into building this business in the United States as in comparison? Because being back in Kenya, you would have understood how the market works, unlike in the United States. So how's that culturally, from your culture and Kikuyu culture into the United culture, molded your business?
I tend to think of Kikuyus as people that go.
No, it's okay. You're well known for money for sure. Yeah, you're well known for money. But I wanna know what's cultivated that motivation for you to be like, I don't want to be an employee in the United States, and I want to go and push for this business.
So, and I think growing up, and I think I like to attribute a lot of things that I do in business to my mother because I think I've learned a lot. Growing up, she had her own business and we had to help her run the business. And there's so many things that I learned from that. And I think that background, even not just only being Kikuyu, but that background with her being an entrepreneur and versus, because at one point she was employed, she worked for the government and she was very unhappy. And I think my motivation too is, like we started at the beginning, there's some level of freedom. And I think like when you're an entrepreneur, you're in charge of your journey when it comes to that space.
Yeah, like you say, the financial freedom.
Yeah. And then also like you do something that you do love, because if, let's say, for example, helping women or helping people with their finances or doing hair is what you enjoy to do versus like you had to take a job just so you can provide, but there's no fulfillment there. And I think the biggest thing for me right now is I want to do something that I enjoy doing on a daily basis. That way it doesn't feel like work. But I believe the one thing culturally that molded me to want to go into entrepreneurship is seeing how much freedom and autonomy my mom had when it came to making even business decisions. When you're employed, you really just go to work and do what the boss tells you.
Yeah, you're waiting on instructions.
Yeah. And when you have your own business, you have autonomy. Like, how do I want my business to run, or what direction do I want my business to go? And there's some level of joy that comes with that. So I think in that way, it shaped my desire to not only want to be employed versus having or owning my own business or being an entrepreneurship.
So how do you cultivate that? How would I put it? How do you cultivate that motivation from, like, let's say somebody being employed, they're waiting on instructions like, hey, you need to do this A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
Unlike you making your own, should I say, not instructions, for you having a business is making
those decisions
and making a plan. So how do you pick up from those plans and still executing on them?
Man, I'll tell you what, like, it's a mindset shift for sure. Let me tell you, there is something that will make you succeed in business is mindset. You have to have the right mindset to be in business. And I think that for me did it for me. So there is a growth mindset and there is a mindset that is not growth. Sometimes, and I think, when we keep talking about, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being employed, because that's where I started. I was an employee and then eventually, built myself up to where I'm at. I had to have a mindset shift. And when I say a shift of mindset, I mean like knowing that I can, even when I face the challenges, knowing that I can do this really helps you get through the tough times. Because if you don't know innately and in your mind, like, yo, I can do this, it's hard. So I believe the biggest recipe for me was the mindset shift. And then also, like I keep saying, knowing that my desire is to almost like buy back time. Because when you're employed, like, you're really tied down to whatever schedule that you have to fulfill. And there's not much wiggle room or like flexibility. So those two things, I think, really motivated me to want to do business, because I think, that's something you don't get when you're working for somebody else. But mindset is such a huge thing when it comes to business. You have to know that you can do it. You have to know that you're capable of it. You have to know that you have the right tools to do the job, because if you don't know that for yourself, it's really hard to succeed.
And how would you say that's playing out for you? Unlike somebody making a schedule for you and you making a schedule for you. How would you say that's working out? Do you get to wake up late, sleep early, or is it the same thing as they say? I mean, I've heard this a lot of times. They say, when you work for yourself, you work twice as much as somebody who's employed.
Now, I love that you say that, because there's a misconception that when you're working for yourself, now we have off days, we are laboring around here. No. And yes, you get to that point. At the beginning of the business, this is what I tell people. I don't think I have known people that work twice as hard as entrepreneurship. Yeah. You have to have some level of discipline, because remember, when you're working for someone or when you're hired by somebody, you almost have a set schedule. So you know when you have to go to work. When you're your own person, entrepreneur, or your own business person, you have to discipline yourself and tell yourself, like, hey, I have to wake up and do the thing, even though I have a choice to sleep. So that self-discipline of telling yourself, like, I'm supposed to be up at 5 o'clock, because when you have to go to a job, and I remember working as an employee, you have that fear of, I don't want to get fired. So you have to get up and do the thing. One of the biggest challenges starting on, and I think I still fight to this day, is like, when you know you have to do something, disciplining yourself enough to either curve that time frame and do that thing without distraction can be a real challenge. So don't let people fool you that being a business owner means not you're chilling and leisuring. I mean, it's going to get there eventually. But at the beginning of the journey, you work, if not double, you work more. But the joy of knowing that this is something that you enjoy doing, it doesn't feel like work.
So, you mentioning that, how do you get that discipline of you knowing I don't have a schedule that sets me to wake up at this time, but at the same time, I have to meet my needs and meet my target at this given time and point, or maybe as per your schedule in business terms, because I don't have a business, so you know much than I do. So how do you make that target, having that you have your freedom of time, unlike being constricted to a given schedule?
So I think biggest thing is you have to have set goals. So maybe there's some certain goals that you want to achieve, and maybe you have a time frame of when you want to achieve these goals. So my biggest thing is, and even the Bible says you have to write it down. You have to write it down in plain sight to know, like, hey, this is what I want to do within a certain time frame. So sticking to that is going to help you stay on schedule, in schedule, but also knowing that the one challenge that I talked about at the beginning was cash flow. And if you know, for example, in my line of business, there's a certain number of, I would say there's a certain number of things that you have to do to meet whatever goal that you're trying to get to. So I always tell people, write down what you want to achieve and when do you want to achieve it by. And I feel like if you do that, then it kind of gives you this time frame of, hey, I can't slack. I have to keep doing the thing. But also the biggest thing is consistency. And I think a good friend of mine has always told me it's the consistency part of it. You have to keep doing the work even when you're not seeing results, because I am a firm believer. One of the person that I love to follow and listen to always say, all works. So it doesn't matter if you're seeing the thing happening or the needle moving right now, but everything that you're doing will kind of count. You might not see the result right now, but towards the end, it will start compounding. And sometimes the pendulum swings so far away towards the end of it. You're like, oh my God, the thing is happening, but it's the consistency that gets most people. And I think that was also another struggle that I had, is like staying consistent. So at the beginning of it, I was not always like, I have to wake up and do the thing. Sometimes you would be like, I just want to sleep. Yeah. So get yourself together and have that goal set. And I think that will help you stay on track.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Being on a regular job, I think being on a okay, I'm right. It's made me think of something. Being on a regular job, we feel the pressure of working every day, each and every day. I think for somebody who does like 12 hours a day for 8 or 6 days, if you do that for a whole year, you've pretty much overwhelmed yourself.
It's a lot.
So we feel the need of calling off at some given point, but you may be losing money. So having a business,
it can be tricky.
No. Having a business, how do you feel that adds of today? I just want to sleep in, and how do you overcome it?
It's when you find there's no money in the bank. Make you get up and go, because let me tell you, them bills don't sleep.
True. Yeah.
And remember how I say, like, and I like giving this example, because when I was employed, there's the consistency of a paycheck. So let's say, for example, I go into work. It doesn't matter my productivity level. I can go into work, sleep through the whole entire whatever time frame shift that I'm there, or I can be very productive. Either way, productive or not, that paycheck is guaranteed as long as you clock in, you clock out.
You are reminding me.
Now, let me tell you, as your business owner, it doesn't matter. If you don't do the thing, there's no paycheck coming.
True.
So you gotta get up.
So you reminded me of a point. There's a guy who said something. He posted something on either TikTok or Instagram. He said, there's days when we feel productive.
Yes.
And today I want to go into work and I'm going to do everything that I need to do at every given second. I'm not going to say you're choosing in a day. You're not choosing a day. There's days when you get to work and you find yourself in that momentum. You just find, I'm going. I don't feel lazy. I'm just going. But at the end of the day, the more you're working, it's not the more you're being paid for. Your rate is your rate.
If it's $10, $20,
if it's $10, it's $10. If it's 20, it's 20.
Yeah.
But for somebody who owns a business, The day you feel more productive, if you keep on going, you've either earned more than you used to earn every day.
Absolutely. And you can offset it with other days and be off.
True. And I think
that's the flexibility I'm talking about. Because let me tell you, and I love that you brought that, because I always say being employed, there's a cap of how much you can get paid.
Yeah.
If they tell you your rate is X amount every hour, unless there's a promotion, and those don't come easy. But in a business, you get to set your price.
Yeah.
You get to decide, hey, I want to make X amount of money.
Yeah.
And there's no cap of how much you can make. It's how much work
value can you provide.
There, the value too.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the value.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be challenging at the beginning, but let me tell you, bills will make you get up and go, because being an entrepreneur is not easy, because that paycheck is not consistent. It's one day you get big fat check, and the next day you're like, oh dear, where's the money?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and a lot of business people complain every day. Either today's payday and it's a lot of lump sum of money. Tomorrow I have to do production or order some stuff, and I'm back to zero.
There we go.
But I think the beauty comes. The beauty comes at the end of the year, for sure. I think the beauty comes at the end of the year.
It does.
For people who are employed, the beauty comes every pay period.
Yes.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like that. Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you build trust and credibility in a new business environment, especially as an immigrant in the United States?
I think I'll say two ways. My biggest thing, and this is to any business, even as an employee, I think the biggest thing is always you have to master your skills, whatever the skills are, whatever your business is, being a master of those skills. Let's say, for example, you're a hairdresser. You gotta know how to do hair.
No, that's not a joke. By the way, I'm marketing, but I don't have a name in mind. I'm marketing, but I don't have a name in mind. For anybody, be it Kenya, be it Nigeria, be it Ghana, anywhere in Africa or anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
If you come to the United States and you do hair,
yes,
especially for women, and if you know how to do dreads, you're going to make money. Forget about being employed. We're talking about business right here. So I'm talking about business over here. So if you're good about business, come to the United States.
You're going to make a good plug-in. Yeah, he's right.
If you need a breakdown of that, I'm going to break it down later. But if you need a breakdown of that, then we're going to I'm going to let you know what's going to happen. What's happening.
There we go.
But that's good money over there.
That's a plug.
As a matter of fact.
Not like.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to know or be a master at your craft. You cannot, that's part of credibility.
You spoke about hair, and my antennas just broke. Oh, my antennas just broke. Man, there's a lot of money in hair.
There is. It's a whole industry. Multi-billion industry. But yeah, my biggest way of having credibility is definitely you have to master your craft, whatever that is, know how to do it and do it well. I think that will set you apart. And the other way, credibility, especially now we're very interconnected, is you have to put yourself out there. Yeah. And my thing is if you have social media, let the world know what you
can do.
Yeah.
What's your uniqueness
from
any other person else?
Yeah. And I think the more people see you talking about what you do, the more they get to relate to you, the more they get to know you. And there's some level of trust that's built there. And I always like giving an example with all the movie stars that we know. I haven't met every movie star that I've seen a movie of. But because I've seen them consistently, whether it's on a big screen or on my TV at home, I almost feel like I know this person, even though I've never met them, but it's that exposure of them consistently.
The feeling that
over and over again. Yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of translates to trust because I've seen them do the thing and I've seen them do it so many times. So whatever your craft is, like we say,
be unique with it. Be okay with it.
Yeah.
Don't feel different.
Yeah. Just
the uniqueness pays.
It does. So know your craft, be very good at what you do. So whatever skills that you have to learn, do that. And also put yourself out there. Yeah. There's somebody who needs your services. Hair,
For sure.
carpentry.
I love the hair part. The hair part. Women do hair every goddamn week or every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we can imagine if you charge one lady 300. No, let's talk more in the conversation or in the DM. But anyway, what leadership qualities do you believe are crucial for success in business, and how have you developed them?
Wow. Biggest leadership quality. I'll start with one. I think I have two in mind. Biggest thing is, one of the greatest leadership quality that I know is never stop learning. You will always learn something new, whether it's from your peers, whether it's from your mentor, whether it's from even your business partners. Don't ever lose that desire to want to know more. And when you stop learning, in my head, I always say you're dead, because as long as you're leaving, there's always something new that you learn that you never knew yesterday or the day before.
Sure.
So the desire to want to learn every day is a quality that I feel like every leader has or possesses, because you're never too big to learn. Another one that I feel like, as far as being a great leader, is being able to create other leaders. My biggest thing is, like, if you want to be successful, is create leaders in whatever arena you're doing. When you create leaders, then they go create more leaders. And I feel like you'll never be broke a day in your life. I don't believe in creating followers. I want to create leaders so they can do whatever they're doing in their sphere, if I may. Those, to me, I mean, they're more, but I think those are the biggest thing. Always have a desire to learn, and always desire to create leaders, not followers. I think that has helped me so far.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mentor other African immigrants or aspiring entrepreneurs? What advice do you give them?
Yes. And, one thing I do is I'm very passionate about, sharing what I've learned so far in business. And I do help mentor people that are trying, especially in my craft. I do mentor those people. If you're trying to do what I do, definitely I'm in the business of, creating more leaders, like I said. Sorry, what was the other question? I forgot.
It was pretty much, what advice do you give them, or aspiring entrepreneurs? What do you see like advising them to do?
Oh, yes. That's a good one. The biggest advice I tell them is to stick with it long enough until it works. Because oftentimes most people quit before it works for them. And I always tell them, during that period of time when it's not working for you, it's working on you, meaning it's building your character. There's resilience, there's persistence, there's consistency. Those are things that don't happen overnight. So when it's not working, know that it's still working, because it's working on you until it works for you. Now, my biggest thing that I tell people that I mentor is, you do have to have that mindset shift no matter what. Mindset is such a huge thing when it comes to business, because you have to believe that you can and you will. Because if you don't believe those things for yourself, you're not going to move. But that idea of let the thing work on you before it works for you, because I feel like what keeps you at the top when you get to the top is not just being at the top. It's the characteristics or the character that you develop getting there. Because when you get there, there's so much success. Sometimes it gets in your head, but if you've learned patience, if you've learned persistence, if you've learned not getting instant gratifications, then you're able to stay there longer. And I think those are very, very important when you start getting bigger and bigger, because you don't want to get there and then lose everything.
Yeah.
So let it work on you before it works for you, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what has mentorship played in your success? You spoke about mentorship.
Yeah.
You mentoring other people, but
Yes.
what has mentorship, for whoever mentored you, what role has the mentorship played in your success, both from others and then offering guidance to others? Like you said, you mentoring other people, but from your mentor, what role did it play to you?
I'll tell you what it did. It's a cheat code. Listen to me. Mentorship is underrated. A lot of people don't value mentorship.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what mentorship does. It literally cuts the journey in half. If not, I don't know, give you the cheat code to get to the point, because people who are mentoring you have been there, have done the thing. They know the loopholes. They know, yes, you go this way, you're successful. You go this way, then you don't get it. So I would like to encourage people, like, if you have somebody that's willing to mentor you, don't take that lightly. It is really, really important to have mentors. If you have somebody who's doing what you want to do and they're successful in that thing, get them, hold them and be like, yo, can you tell me how you did this? Because what that does for you, it really cuts the time in half, because there's obstacles they went through and they learn, like, okay, I don't go this way, I go this way. So if I've done something and then I've been successful, if you come and I'm mentoring you, I'm literally telling you, hey, when you get in here, don't take route B, take A, because route B is going to get you somewhere you don't want to go. And what that does for you, it cuts down the time you would have spent learning through the mistakes. So mentorship, I feel like, is so underrated, but it is so important. And I think that's my desire, even for mentoring other people, is the desire to make sure that whoever is joining my craft is able to almost take the shortcut. Why not? You know? So that's what mentorship has done for me. And I'm really grateful for my mentors in my life, because
So you mentioned about mentorship being underrated. What makes you think mentorship is being underrated?
I think most of us don't believe in investing in ourselves. And that's another mindset thing, because I feel like, I like to say, people who pay attention. You'll find that, and now it's a thing, you know, most mentors will ask you to pay them, which I believe, like, if you really want to be successful in whatever that you're doing, that's an investment you should really, really think about doing for yourself, because I look at it as investing in yourself. One thing that makes it underrated is, one, I feel like people don't want to invest in themselves in that way, or don't feel like it's as important as it is actually.
Could it be the fear of the outcome, or having to pay for something that you trust in, but you don't know the outcome?
That is it. Because sometimes, you know, success is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And I feel like most people, and I think I was there too, this is how my mindset was. I'm going to pay for this mentor, and there's no guarantee that I'm going to be successful. So now you start thinking, okay, I'll pay this money, and this money goes down the drain. But one thing I have learned is, being an entrepreneur or starting a business is all about taking risks. You're going to take risks, and sometimes those risks might not work. But what I do know is not losses, it's learning opportunities. If you think about it that way, like every time maybe you invested in something and it didn't go how you wanted to go, don't look at it as a loss. Look at it as a learning opportunity, because now you know, hey, this is not how to do it. Maybe I should have tried the other way.
Yeah.
But it takes that shift of your mind to know that I'm not losing. And then also, by default, as human beings, we always go to the negative. I always ask people, what if you invested this mentor and it actually works? But for the most part, which includes me, every time you think about it, it's not going to work, because that's the default mindset. Like, we always go to the negative. But I always like to think, like, as much energy I'm giving, like, it's not going to work, how about I give the same energy of, like, if this works, it's going to be good. So when you go with that mindset, you tend to invest more in yourself, because you're like, yes, it could not work, but yes, it could work.
Yeah.
And I try to lean more, yes, it's going to work. And I think when you start thinking of, it's going to work, you start leaning and doing the things that will make it even work, because your behavior even changes subconsciously, because you're like, it's going to work. So what do I need to do so it can work? But I think the reason why it's underrated is some people almost want that guarantee that, hey, if I pay,
it's going to work 100%.
Yeah. And that's not life.
Okay, so they should come in knowing there's a positive income. No, not income.
Mm-hmm.
There's a positive feedback to this
Mm-hmm.
and a negative feedback to this.
Everything has two sides. So yes, there's a positive and a
So
negative.
it's a mindset of preparedness.
Yeah.
Being prepared.
Yeah.
Lose or gain.
Pretty much. But I always say, why don't you lean more to the it's gonna work? I mean, there's a possibility it's not gonna work, but why can we not lean on it's gonna work?
You putting it out with me. I think somebody has used the terminology in business.
Mm-hmm.
Life is a gamble.
There we go.
So if you don't gamble your own business, you're already gambling your life. So what are you losing?
Thank you. And I think that somebody else has said, like, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. So you have to risk it.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
How do you approach team building and leadership within Africans and African entrepreneurship and African American entrepreneurs in the United States? What's the not communication.
Mm-hmm.
What's the connectivity?
So when it comes to team building between the two cultures,
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. So I haven't had a chance of working with a lot of African Americans, but I feel like when it comes to team building,
Mm-hmm.
I believe the biggest thing is very open and transparent communication.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say, for example, I had team members who are Africans and I have team members who are African American. Communication and transparency is one thing that I've learned in business that's very vital,
Mm-hmm.
because when everybody's on the same page and they know the direction that we're going to, we tend to be able to become better teammates versus, and not to sound weird or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you being African, I've gotten into periods of time where you kind of lean more towards your community versus if you had team members who are not from your culture, just because you relate
It's
more
your origins, so you pretty much tend to lean more. But
you gravitate more towards people you probably speak the same language and are from the same country and same culture. But I believe making sure that everybody feels seen,
mm-hmm.
But also that communication and transparency, because I think we've touched on communication barriers when it comes to our culture and being even here.
Mm-hmm.
But also the other thing that I've learned is, remember how I said I love creating leaders.
Yeah.
I love showing my team members their strength, or if you identify a certain strength in one specific partner,
mm-hmm.
try to almost illuminate or like make that strength or put them in a position where it kind of heightens their strength.
Yeah.
Because that way they feel like they're doing, not doing something great, but there's some level of confidence that builds you when you do something and you're successful in it.
Yeah.
So if I know your strength is in, let's say, marketing or communication or creating a website or creating a pop or whatever that is,
mm-hmm.
if I give you that opportunity to shine in that area, then you're more likely to want to be a team player because you're doing the thing and you're succeeding in it.
Yeah.
Versus if I knew you're good at marketing and put you in doing PDFs and whatever, you might feel like, oh my gosh, this is the hardest thing.
It's not your field.
Yeah. So just knowing your team, and this comes with a lot of team building and knowing who your team members are.
Yeah.
So I think even communicating and transparency in that way, because that's the only way you get to know people and learn them.
You spoke about it. My question would be, have you been involved in any community outreach or social impact projects, especially with the African community in the United States and the African Americans?
So I'm just now getting to that. And my biggest reason for doing that is there's such joy in giving back to the community and knowing that, somebody that is either going through what I went through or has been through what I have gone through,
mm-hmm.
has that opportunity to learn from somebody who's been through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now is when I'm starting to kind of get into the giving. I'm not good at it, but I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe for anybody who is even successful in whatever arena they are,
mm-hmm.
there's a beauty and there's a purpose in giving back to the community. So I do have some involvement, or I'm starting to get involved with. So we have what is this called? I don't know. It's a community within a African community, Vitendo for Africa. So I try to give back in those ways. And I think one thing I know is when, like, if you're successful and I'm successful, we tend to do better for even the whole entire community.
Yeah.
So in that way, I think that encourages me to give back, because I know when there's more of us doing great, then there's more coming back to our community in that manner. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
It pretty much does, because I was going to ask you, how do you give back to the community, but you pretty much answered that question.
Yeah.
Looking back, what are you most proud of regarding your business journey in the United States?
Biggest thing I'm proud of is not giving up on my dreams. Yeah. And still not saying that, it's, roses and peaches here right now.
Yeah.
But I think the one attribute that I am really proud of is always not giving up and knowing that I deserve, whatever is coming my way, and knowing that I'm capable of, whatever challenges those are. I have everything that I need to overcome those challenges. I think that's one thing I'm proud of. And like I said, my resilience, which I've learned from my mom, and my hardworking trait, because I believe hard work pays. It does. So, yeah.
Wow. So, having the pride, are you not proud that you've overcome the concept of working for somebody else?
Am I proud of it? Very.
Because I would be proud of that for sure.
I am.
Okay.
I am, because like I said, it gives you the freedom. Not necessarily what freedom people would think of, because when people think of working for yourself, they think, you just chill.
There's a freedom in that, but
there is.
There's a reality concept and there's freedom.
Yeah.
Reality concept is you're not free, but there's freedom in the sense of you're not constricted to the schedule.
There you go.
You can decide to work, to sleep in the day, work at night.
Or you can compensate. Let's say you worked 24 hours the night before, and then you're able to sleep in the next day. So I think that flexibility to me, that's a freedom.
Yeah, I think that's the most freedom for everybody.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to feel like you're reporting to somebody.
True.
You hold yourself responsible for everything that you're doing.
There you go. And also, you're building your dream. You're not building somebody's dream. This is your dream.
Oh, wow. I would be proud of me if I did that.
You did. You're doing it right now.
I'm trying. To the last question, and I think this is going to be more thicker than anything else. What are your financial advice to most Africans or immigrants who get to the United States for the first time, considering you are already an entrepreneur in the United States?
If you don't take anything from this whole entire conversation, take these two things. Number one, learn the system.
Okay.
You have to learn the system. We're in a foreign land. The system is different from what we're accustomed.
Yeah.
Learn the system. If you don't know anybody, actually, three things actually. So learn the system is one. Number two, get you a 1099. If you want to know about that.
And there is a 1099 for somebody who doesn't know what
1099 is a tax document. So any business owner or anybody that owns a business gets a 1099. And there's benefits to having a 1099. We can talk more about that. Number three. Oh, now I forgot. I had three things. So one, learn the system. 1099. What was third one? Oh, it will come back to me. But I think those two are big tickets for me. Okay,
even the two that you mentioned. How would you explain the credit system in the United States, credit card system?
So that's a concept we didn't have back in. So what essentially a credit system is, So the banks or whatever the institute is lending you money, lends you money, and they observe how you're paying it back. So if you're paying it on time, or you can decide to pay the entire balance or whatever you borrowed, it kind of builds your credit. So they look at
So what is credit for somebody who's new who doesn't understand credit?
So,
and how do you get to build it?
So credit is basically what a lending institute or anybody that lends you money looks at and says, hey, if I lend this person money, they have a likelihood of paying it back. So it's a number. And it ranges from anywhere, I believe it's 500 all the way to 800. And, 800 being a good credit and, 500 being not so good. So the more high your numbers are, the more lending institute look at you and say, okay, if I give you 5,000, you have a likelihood of paying it back and paying back on time. So let's say, for example, you decided to create to build your credit. You just come in and you get a 500 credit. If you pay your monthly, whatever the monthly is, on time, and you pay out the balance, then you're building your credit. Now, that is what they look at if they're trying to lend you money. So the better your credit score is, the better likelihood you have to being able to borrow money from institutes.
So, do you get a good credit from paying the monthly fee?
No. No. And there's advantages and disadvantages to it, because one thing I need people to learn about, and when I say learn about the system, is this money that you borrow on credit, because you technically don't have the money, you have to pay it back with interest. And the more you just keep paying the bare minimum, which is the monthly required, the more, because you pay credit on the balance. Let's say it's 500 and maybe I'm only required to pay $20. The next month it's going to be 480 is the balance, and that's what I'm paying credit on. I'm paying interest, not credit, interest on the 480. Versus if I decided, if I had a $500 credit and paid the entire amount, I have zero balance to pay interest on. So I'm not paying any interest.
So if, let's say, for instance, so if you use 500 this month and you pay fully 500, you won't pay no interest.
No, and you're building your credit. So I advise people, if you get a credit card, get what you can handle just to build the credit, but pay everything off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So explain the long-term advantages you spoke about. There's something you spoke about. I'm gonna pull you into that. So I need you to explain the long-term advantages of a difference between a 401k and the IUL.
Policy?
And I need you to explain what's an IUL policy for us.
Oh, okay. So in America, we do have retirement plans, and depending on who your employer is, it can be a 401k, it could be a 403b, it could be a 423, I believe. And then we have what we call an indexed universal life policy, and that's a whole different retirement investment, and it's also life insurance. But it also is a very powerful financial tool that I actually teach my clients how to utilize it to benefit their financial goals. So 401k is pretty much what an employer offers an employee as a retirement. So what ends up happening is every paycheck that you get from your employer, there's a little bit they withhold, and we can get more into details if we get on a one-to-one, because there's tax benefits when it comes to both policies. One is tax-free, meaning you're not paying taxes. The other one is what we call deferred tax, meaning, yes, you're not paying taxes now, but you're going to pay taxes later. And we don't know what the taxes are going to do next year or the year after that. I mean, right now we know the climate with the politics. So one thing that's not guaranteed is whether taxes are, and probably they're going to go higher because we're in so much debt and me and you are paying for that debt. So what I tell people is 401k, yes, and one thing I tell people is learn about your investments and really, really understand what your investments are. Because when you have an understanding of how your investments work, you're able to know like, hey, does this work for me and my financial needs? Or no, this is not what I need. Because when you don't understand, I feel like most of the time you're leaving either money on the table or you're losing money. And 401k being tax deferred, meaning you're putting money in. So your employer is taking money out of your paycheck and putting it in this policy or in this bucket. And then down the line, when you're getting ready to retire, the government is like, yo, give us taxes. Now remember, let's say, for example, I'm putting money. I always ask people, if I ask you, which one would you rather? If you want to pay taxes on $1,000 or do you want to pay taxes on $100,000? Which one would you rather?
Don't say $100,000.
You want to pay taxes on $100,000?
That would be much easier. For business stuff, I would.
For business, no, I'm saying for a regular person.
I'd rather pay $1,000.
There you go. But this is what's happening with 401k. So because it's deferred, meaning it's put to the back end, and money in here is growing.
401k is for employees.
There you go. So, but an IUL is a tax-free policy, and I always like calling it a 3-in-1. One, it gives you protection for your income, meaning if you got sick, you have money coming to you. Number two, it gives you protection if you were to pass on. Because if you're the breadwinner of your family, whether you're a husband or a wife, you know, there's that value you're bringing to your family. And if you're not here, then that money is off the table. But this is something that can cover that. And number three, it's an investment vehicle because money that you're putting in here is actually growing on an average 6 to 12%. So you're actually having your money make you money. But again, if anybody is interested in learning more, this is something that I do. This is something my biggest thing, honestly, is making sure people understand what they're investing in, because I feel like when you understand what you're investing in, it gives you the chance to actually even make better decisions for you and for your family or whatever your financial needs are. Yeah.
Hey, she did not explain how I wanted her to explain. She holding back on a lot of stuff. But it's her business. I'm not gonna put it in the air. So if you wanna reach out more to her, what's your Instagram or your
so Investment Legacy is how you can find me, or if you want to reach out to me, I'm gonna have Bryke attach my contacts down.
I put it down on the description part. If you want more, just reach out to that. The website is gonna be on there, the social media is gonna be down there. Reach out, she's gonna talk you more into it. I wanna learn more too. So that's why I'm saying she's holding more back, because we've talked earlier, but yeah, she's not saying a lot. So yeah, that's gonna be what I'm gonna put down in the description. We're gonna reach out to her, we're gonna talk, and we're gonna see. But we've had a good session.
This was good.
And
thank you for having me again.
I really do love it. I would like to have you next time open out more, because
absolutely. And
I feel like you're holding back more than I did.
There's a reason why I'm holding back. I feel like everybody's financial situation is different.
Everybody's struggling to be financially stable.
True.
And that's why I had to reach out to you in a business term manner.
Thank you. I appreciate
being an immigrant, it's different. It's different from being a United States person. But that's why I had to reach out to you. And
thank you.
I'm glad you showed up for it.
Yeah, always. I love doing this. This is fun.
Okay.
We should do this more.
I need more from you for sure. Next time I'm gonna have to hold you down. You have to explain this IUL thing for us and the difference from the 401k.
I got you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, my people. With that being said, this will be it until next time. Bye.